Hi, it's Emily from Crochet, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these adorable scrap busting bunnies. I originally designed this pattern after making baby blankets and realizing I had bought too much yarn for that project and I needed to find a way to use up my leftover yarn, hence the scrap busting portion of this. I just think that these are such a cute toy that you can give an accompaniment to a baby blanket, but they're also just great as a standalone project as well. This is also a perfect project if you want to learn how to do amigurumi, but you're a little intimidated to get started. This is a very basic project. With this project, you are going to learn how to make a magic ring, do increases, do decreases, stuff, embroider, add a little details. It's going to be great. Before you start this pattern, you should have a basic foundation of crochet knowledge, including single crochet, double crochet, half double crochet, making a chain. If you don't know how to do those, go check out my Golden Trio Coasters pattern. That will get you set up with your foundations. All right, let's dive into making these scrap busting bunnies. So for the first part of our pattern, we are going to be using a worsted weight yarn. I am using Caron Simply Soft. I can't remember what the color is. I think it's golden or goldenrod or something like that. I'm going to use a stitch marker, and I'm also using my 5mm hook from Clover. All right, so the first part of creating this is to make a magic ring. So this is very similar to creating a slip knot. So for slip knot, I'm going to wrap it around my hand, then essentially reach through, pull up another loop, and then pull tight. So that's a slip knot. Magic ring, we're essentially crocheting into the slip knot. So here's where I would normally go and pull up that loop, and this loop would normally become our slip knot, but instead I'm going to kind of pinch the area where it's coming up through this one loop that was previously wrapped around my left hand. I'm going to pull that tight. I'm going to chain one, and then from there I'm going to single crochet around both this tail and this part of the circle. If I just crochet around one, this is not going to work. It has to be around both. To provide a little bit of extra stability, I'm pinching things with my thumb and my middle finger from my working yarn hand. It can be a little finicky to chain into the magic ring, so having that little extra stability is really helpful. All right, I'm going to count my stitches to make sure I have the right number. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. From there, I'm going to mark my first stitch with a stitch marker. Because I'm going to go in continuous rounds instead of joined rounds. So I'm essentially working in a spiral, so it's important that I know where the first stitch is. And then second of all, it is rather difficult to crochet into that first stitch. So having it marked makes it a little bit easier. So from there, I'm having this loop that's connected to my working yarn pulled up. And then if I hold the row of crochet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tail, I'm going to try to tuck in the back. I'm just going to pull on it. And that is what creates our magic ring, because it's basically a perfect circle with this tiny little opening that we can cinch down even further. Okay, so from here, I'm going to start working in a circle, crocheting in a circle, and we are going to start with our increase. Increases sound scary? They're not, I promise. Essentially, an increase is crocheting 2 stitches into a single stitch. So I'm going to try to force my hook in there. I'm going to take the stitch marker out, but mark it with my thumb and my pointer finger. I'm going to get in, there we go. Make sure that yarn is nice and tight. Right, first single crochet, I'm going to get that stitch marker right back on. And then I'm going to really carefully look so I can see that the base of that single crochet is in this stitch. So I'm just going to insert my hook in there again. Right. So really up close you can see like there's 1 stitch and then 2 stitches in that one hole. So same here. Our stitch, single crochet 1, single crochet one in the same hole again. I'm pretty sure I should stop saying hole, but here we are. So because I started with 6 stitches at the end of this row, I should have 12. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. And you might see the magic hole, the magic ring. You might see in the magic ring that the hole has become a little bigger. You can just tighten the tail up and that will get smaller again, so you can't tell. So if that happens while you're crocheting, don't worry. When you're done making increases, you can just adjust it then. Okay, from here, we're gonna be gradually increasing. So we wanna make increases each round, but if we make a bunch of increases, it's gonna start to go wonky. So we wanna have it in a proportional manner. So that because this is our 3rd row, we're essentially gonna be making 3 stitches 6 times. So our first stitch is just gonna be a normal single crochet. Get that stitch marker back in. Followed by an increase. So we're gonna do a pattern of 1 single crochet, 1 increase 6 times. All right, that is row 3. Okay, if you have been catching on, you might think, oh, well, we've done our first row, we've done increases in the 2nd row, and then we've done single crochet followed by an increase in the 3rd row. So you might be thinking, oh, we're gonna do 2 crochet followed by an increase for the rest of the row. No, that's wrong. And that is because if we continue to just add our number of single crochets and then make an increase, we're not gonna get a circle. Instead, what we're gonna get is more of this hexagonal shapes. You can see like there's clear points where each of those increases are. I think eventually if I just crocheted around this, it would eventually look pretty circular, but this isn't the overall look that I want. So to avoid the hexagonal, what we are going to do is every even row of increasing, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to distribute the single crochet. So this is supposed to be 2 single crochet followed by an increase. So instead, at the very beginning, I'm going to split up that first 2 single crochets. So instead of 2, I'm just going to do 1 single crochet, and then I'm going to immediately follow that with an increase. This is always confusing on the 4th row because it's basically what we did on this 3rd row, but it's not. So increase, but instead of going 1 and an increase, I'm going to do 2. 1, 2, increase by crocheting 2 into the same stitch. And then we're going to go 1, 2, increase. This is our 3rd increase, so we're about halfway there. there should, when you're making circular things, there should be approximately 6 increases in a round. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. Okay, I think we're getting ready for our last increase. So 1, 2, increase. But then there's 1 stitch left before our first row, and that's because we split our 2. So here's our next single crochet. Amazing! So for the odd number rows of an increase, then you just do the normal single crochet this many and then do your increase. So we're on row 5, so that means we're single crocheting 3 followed by our increase. All right, so I just got done with round 5. Keep in mind that because we are starting with a base of 6 and we're increasing 6 times, that you can just multiply 6 by the row you're on to know how many stitches you have. So this is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I know I should have 30 stitches. I'm not gonna count them because that would take too long. So here we're on for our last increase round. And because this is an even number, we are going to distribute stitches again. So this is a better example because it's not directly repeating the row before. So we're supposed to do 4 single crochet followed by an increase. So we're gonna divide 4 by 2, which is 2. So we're gonna do 2 single crochets at the very start. So 1, 2. Now we do our increase. And now we are going to single crochet 4. Unfortunately, crochet does involve a lot of counting. Once we get past double digits for counting before increases, I really start to lose focus. It's bad. Okay, so we just got our base figured out. I'm just gonna quickly compare with my previous example. You can definitely kind of see where like there are some increases, you can see points, but it's a lot less defined than this one because we distributed those increases more evenly. It's harder to tell. So that's just a comparison of why my patterns, all the even rows on the increases, have those distributed. It might be a little confusing. Hopefully that visual helped you out. So from here, what we're going to do is we have 36 stitches and we're just going to single crochet all the way around. No more increases. We are going to single crochet until the pattern tells us to decrease. And it is important to note that you should be marking your first row so you don't forget where it is. But then also it's going to look like you're increasing, but eventually it's going to create a tube. All right, so I just completed my rounds of, I guess straight up, just plain old rounds, so you can kind of see how this is becoming a tube. I am going to grab a tad of fiber fill, just because with amigurumi, It is best to stuff as you go. You don't want to be shoving a bunch of fiberfill down a tiny hole later. So we're just gonna put that in there for now. And now this is also our tail. I'm just gonna tuck that in. We don't even have to weave it in. It's just gonna go in right with the fiberfill. I'll just put it at the bottom. We don't even have to worry about it. Yeah, and that's great. So now that we've gotten to the height that we want, we're gonna start working on decreases, which I think are a little more complex than increases, but they are still very doable. So what I'm gonna do is we are basically going to be decreasing the same way we increase, but in reverse. So our last increase was 4 single crochets with an increase. We did divide that up. That's not necessary to do with decreases. Okay, so we've done 4 single crochets. Now to do a decrease, we're basically going to be inserting our hook into 2 stitches. So we're going to be inserting our hook. I'm going to pull up a loop. Normally I would yarn over and pull through for a single crochet, but instead I am going to insert my hook into the next stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop. So now there's 1, 2, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to go through all 3. So basically I have 1 crochet stitch. It almost looks like a half double crochet because of that bar in the middle, but it is technically a single crochet stitch because it goes through those 2 separate stitches. Then I'm going to continue that pattern of 4 single crochet and 1 decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do a decrease. So insert a hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert to the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and that creates a decrease. Okay, the decreases are also nice because they're a little more visible because of the extra bumps, so I can clearly count, like, this is my last decrease, 1, 2, 3, 4, time to decrease again. So insert, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. So it's very much the same pattern, just a different special stitch in the middle of all of our single crochets. There are some special ways to make the decreases look a little bit nicer. I think people do that by going back loop only. For this pattern, I'm just going to focus on teaching the basic skills, so don't worry about that. We can build our basic skills and then we can learn techniques to refine them later. One. All right, last decrease. And there you go. Okay, I'm going to do 1 more row of decreases just to show you that process. So we did 4 single crochet and then a decrease, so the previous row. So we are going to be doing 3 single crochets and then a decrease this row. Like I mentioned before, we don't have to stagger on the decreases. I think it looks a little bit nicer that way. But you can always experiment and see what works best for you in your crochet practice. I already did the decrease without explaining it. So again, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. insert next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. There's gonna be 3 loops. And yarn over and pull through all 3. 1, 2, 3. The decreasing takes us from going like a tube to more of a sphere shape, so I think that's really cool. So insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop. It is important to keep your tension nice and tight and even, because with the decreases we do get a bit larger of a gap, especially there. So we just want to minimize that as much as possible. All right, so in following your pattern, you just continue that process of decreasing as many rows as it says to do. And remember to stuff as you go. Before we kind of had that tube and it was spilling all over the place. Now I could probably put a little bit more in and just keep going. Sometimes you'll get like little fibers just right on your workspace, and you can take a little bit of fiber fill and just wipe them up to clean as you go. Okay, so here I have completed my decreases. You can see we have this cute, it's not quite a sphere, but it's kind of a sphere, little head. And so what I'm going to do from here is, because we're doing continuous crochet and there's technically like this little shelf here, I am going to slip stitch 4 times to help make that more even for when we're sewing the head and the body together. So I'm just going to remove the stitch marker, get my working yarn in place. So I'm just going to insert my hook, yarn over, and then pull that straight through the loop that was already on my hook. So we're not adding any height like we do in a single crochet. So just insert, yarn over, and then pull that second loop through the first loop on the hook. One more time, insert, yarn over, pull the loop. I lied, this is the last time. Insert, yarn over, pull the loop. And then you want to leave a nice long tail for sewing. I like to leave a tail for sewing on the head and the body, just in case something comes up short. Yeah, but there we have our head. All right, so making the body of the bunny is pretty much exactly the same as making the head, except the main difference is that you are going to crochet more rows than the head. So we're going to do our increases just the same, and then this rounds of single crochet where you're not changing anything, those are doubled. And so before we start our increases here, something I've noticed is that it helps to weigh the bunny down, otherwise it tips and wobbles and it's hard to have upright if you want it displayed on a shelf or something. So I'm actually going to weight this down with some poly pellets. All right, so to weight everything down, I have this pack of poly pellets, I have some pantyhose, and a kitchen scale. So what I'm going to do is just pull out one of the pantyhose, and I am going to fill this bad boy with approximately 2 ounces of the poly pellets. I said approximately. This can be a measure with your heart situation. Obviously, we don't need a full pound of poly pellets. But yeah, we do want to be careful. Okay. And then to prevent spillage, I like to make sure before I'm actually pouring, I have just the end of the pantyhose really securely on. So. See, that's already really close to 2 ounces. Just a little more. that looks really long. Okay. Oh, that's 2.6. Okay, I mismeasured. I'm gonna try to figure out how to get some of these back in there, and then I'm gonna put it in the body. We'll see how this goes. Okay, I am a mad genius, and I got this exactly to 2 ounces. So I'm gonna remove the scale, and basically what I'm gonna do is gonna make sure that all the pellets are at the bottom, because I was pouring back and forth, so some might have gotten loose. So I'm just massaging it down like it's an udder, I guess. I'm kind of gonna flatten it so it's more of a ball shape than a cylinder. And then I'm just gonna tie a double knot to make sure that they cannot escape. Yep, there we go. We're gonna use that to weight down our bunny. And then from there, I'm just going to trim the excess. And this is still a lot of material, so what I would actually do if I was making more bunnies is I'm just gonna tie another knot right down at the bottom, and then I can fill it up. I think at least another time, maybe even 3 times to get the most bang for your buck. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take just a tad of fiberfill and just put that down at the base. I've noticed that when I use the pantyhose, the bottom of the bunny appears more brown than the rest of the bunny. And so for a more even color appearance with the head, I just like to line the edges with fiberfill, and then I'll stick a little weighted pouch inside. So as I continue decreasing, I'll end up putting more fiberfill inside. All right, so we have the head and the body. You can tell that the body's a bit bigger. They're fully stuffed with fiberfill. I'll continue stuffing them a little bit more while I'm attaching, but now is the time when we attach them. So I'm gonna go get my tapestry needle ready. I hate when the tapestry needles just fly everywhere and then you have to worry about being stabbed. Okay, this is good. Medium-ish one. No, stop falling. Okay, I have 2 long tails, but I'm going to do the one on, use the body one. I think I just view the body as more secure for some reason. Okay. And I can tell that the tails are where I did those slip stitches. So I don't want the 2 slip stitches to be right on top of each other. So I'm going to actually rotate the tails a little bit so that way those are staggered as well. And then how I do this, I don't know what this stitch is called. I think it might be like a zigzag stitch or something, but I kind of go, I'll go under, and then I'll also go under. I'll just go back and forth between the head and the body. So going all the way under that stitch, pulling that out, and then also going under. Actually, maybe I could go forward. Again, this doesn't need to be perfect at all. This is very much about security and not being pretty. If it was about being pretty, then I would crochet everything in a continuous round, but I think it looks better and it sits better with sewing everything together. So I'm just going in and out. Okay, so I've gotten to that part, and just to make sure it's secure, I'm just going, I haven't crocheted through that one yet, so I'm going to just go directly through there. Don't need to make a fuss about it. And then I'm just gonna tuck the extra tail through the neck. It kind of feels like I'm about to decapitate it, but I'll just keep it hidden, and so I don't have to tie an extra knot and stuff. I can just weave it down with the rest of the body. I'm also like tugging on the yarn as soon as I sew the stitch. I'm not pulling it through as I go. I like doing that to give it more security. Oh, maybe I should have made this tail longer. It's getting a little short, that makes me worried. I think I'll have enough, it's just concerning. Okay, so in here we just have like a tiny little opening. So what, actually I'm just gonna take this and just stuff it. I think I'm putting its intestines back in or something. I'm gonna grab some more fiberfill. I'm just gonna shove it in. And this is to make sure the neck isn't too floppy. I think for some people, if they don't want it to be too floppy, they could like put a chopstick or something in, but you'd have to like be really careful at measuring to make sure it was the correct length. So you can see, even though that was a lot of fiberfill, like there's always room for more fiberfill. There will never be enough fiberfill. Actually, I'm deciding that's enough fiberfill because again, this could be an infinite fiberfill pit. You can see like it's nicely defined. There's clearly a neck and like that's where we want it to be. It's okay if a little fiberfill gets caught in your stitches. That's something we can fix later. Just pull it gently out. Last couple stitches now. I think it's nice recording this because I think sewing is the one part of crochet that I will like put off. But as I'm recording, I'm like, this is taking me 5 minutes. Okay, it's 6 minutes, but still that's not very long to get really good results. Okay, so then I'm gonna go, this part's always tricky. Oh, split my yarn a little bit there. That's okay. Lost my needle there, oh my goodness. Okay, so like there's one little stitch right there that I'm gonna go through and then I'm gonna tie a knot. There we go. So I'm actually just gonna kind of loop around there again. Make it a little extra. I'm just gonna like double knot it for security. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm just gonna stab that through the body to hide the tail. And pull that through. Then I snip. And now we have our head and our body attached together. Okay, now that we have our body put together, it is time to start adding our accent colors. So the first thing we're gonna do is sew the face onto the bunny. And technically it doesn't matter what steps you do the details in, but I like to sew the face on first, so that way I know where to place the ear and the tail. So what I'm doing is I'm cutting about a fingertip to opposite shoulders length of yarn. It can be arm's length. I think wingspan would be a bit too long. But what I'm gonna do is I'm going to use this to embroider the face on. And especially because I use these as a lot of baby gifts to accompany baby blankets, I don't like to use safety eyes because they are a choking hazard, so I prefer to embroider them on because if they come off, then baby won't die. So I'm gonna look along the neck to see where it looks the least ugly. I think here's a good front facing point. And then I'm gonna count down from the top to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where we stopped increasing. Go about 1, 2, okay, to 8. We want our eyes to be like between rows 8 and 10. So and they're gonna be about 2-ish, so there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so technically like 3 rows tall. So what I'm gonna do is go there, and then because this is where I'm starting, I'm gonna secure this with a knot. And it's not gonna look super pretty, and that's okay, because we're gonna embroider around it, and it's going to make it a lot better. So then what I'm gonna do is essentially, I'm gonna backstitch this bad boy, just over and over. So one, especially since this is the first eye, I'm going to keep sewing until this is covered up. All right, that one looks good. So I'm actually going to start to move over here to do our other eye. So I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we wanna go over to this stitch right here, 6. So I'm gonna kind of angle my needle until I hit that stitch. It can be a little finicky and trial and error, so just do your best there. So now I'm going to keep that process of looping between those rows. I'm going to make sure like, okay, I'm going to be looping up here until the eye looks about the same dimensions as the first one. Okay, so technically I came out here, but what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna go back down here. And so we count out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna go to the 2 and find a spot that's right below the 3. So like, where's that stitch? I think that's about here. So I'm gonna go about 3 times around here. 2 to 3, it can be up to personal preference. Okay, and then after the 3rd, I'm going to go into stitch number 3 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is how we're embroidering the nose on. I call this the tulip nose because I think it looks like a tulip and it's so cute. And now this is going to be our 3rd pass of yarn, I'm going to go into the stitch number 4 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, this is our last pass. So I'm going to go from this stitch, I'm going to count about 2 rows down. 1, 2. This is the stitch that's directly below it, and I'm going, this is definitely a back stitch, to go like there. This is gonna start to create our mouth. I'm gonna go up another time just to add more dimension. I think I actually split the yarn there, so I also wanna cover that up a little bit. And then from there, I'm gonna go diagonally. So I'm gonna go to the left, so like 1, 2, and then up 1. Would that be, that's like the way a knight moves in chess, right? So like, do a knight's move on the diagonal to get that. So like 1, 2, and then up 1. So I am just running out of thread. So I would actually recommend maybe go for that wingspan. Maybe go fingertips to opposite elbow. Give yourself a little extra length. Go through that twice. And then now we just want to secure our thread. So I'm going to just tie a little knot around the mouth, or just like loop it through. Doesn't need to be too fancy. Like, we're gonna want to hide this knot anyway. So I'm just basically attach it to something and then tie a knot. Okay, so now we have our knot. It's a little bit prominent. So I'm gonna do like we did before, is I'm gonna take my needle, stab it through the entry point, and just stab it through the back of the head. I'm gonna pull. So that actually kind of puckered the lips a little bit, but you can just reshape that by fluffing it. And then I will take my scissors and cut our starting piece, and then cut our back piece. And now it doesn't look like a bunny, but you can tell it has a face, and I think it's cute. All right, now it is time to work on the ears. I think this is the most complicated part of the bunny, so pay close attention. So we're going to start off with a slip knot. And then we are going to chain 16. You also want to start this in your contrast color. You will also do them in the main color, but you want to start with your contrast color first. All right, and then to make this especially strong, I'm going to zoom in for this. I want you to, instead of like crocheting here, I'm going to have you flip it over and crochet in the back little bump here. So we're going to start out by crocheting 5 single crochet. That's 5. You can see that little bump right there. It can be challenging to learn at first, but once you learn it, it's really life-changing. I'm actually going to zoom out just a tad. And now we're going to do 5 half double crochets. And now we're going to do 4 double crochets. Almost forgot how to double crochet there. Okay, so then we have like this one last stitch before our slip knot, and we are going to crochet 5 into here. And by 5, I mean 5 double crochets. This part can be a little tricky, so take your time, no need to rush it. At this point, since the slip knot is here, I kind of want to place my stitch right in front of that just to hide the slip knot in the back. And I can actually take the tail of the slip knot and crochet around that as I go down the ear so I don't have to weave it in later. Because let's be real, crochet is the fun part of crochet, not weaving in ends or sewing. Okay, so then I have 5 in that last stitch, and so now I'm going to, this is the base of our chain. It looks very similar to what we just crocheted over here. So you're going to be treating this like a regular row instead of chaining and turning around. So that I've chained 5, I'm going to double crochet 4. So we're going to be going back down in the reverse of the pattern that we came up. Two. count 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect. So now we're going to do 5 half doubles. All right, so the last 5 stitches we are going to single crochet. All right, and then to make sure that since we're technically crocheted in a type of round, I'm just going to slip stitch back to essentially what is like the chain stitch area. I'm just going to do a slip stitch back to there. I think it's technically just slip stitching into the place I just crocheted in, but around the general area. Again, this does not have to be perfect. We are finding a way to use up our scrap yarn, but this kind of creates a little stitch. So I'm going to just pull up a loop and then trim. Then I want to weave this end in, and then this was already woven in, so I'll just cut that right there. Then after that, you want to repeat that process in your main color. All right, so I completed the ear in my main color. Notice that I haven't cut my yarn yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this right on top, and then we are going to crochet a border around this to attach the 2 ears. So getting started with this is always challenging. One of the reasons I had you do the little slip stitch at the very end was so we would have some place to anchor. For that first stitch, this is always so hard. Ugh. Just stab it through, it doesn't really matter where. And then from there, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to go to my first crochet of the row in both of those rows. And because it's a corner, I'm going to single crochet 3, split my yarn, it's fine. We can start over and cover it up. And then basically what we're going to do is we're just gonna single crochet through both of those stitches. So what I'm doing is I'm inserting under there, then I'm also inserting in the back space over there. So when I pull my hook through, it is attaching the 2 of those together. So I'm going to continue single crochet down the entire length of the ear until I get to the little fan of 5 double crochets at the end. All right, so we've reached our fan of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the first stitch, I'm just going to do a single crochet like normal. And then the next 3 stitches, I'm going to do an increase, and that's going to help just make sure the ear isn't curling in on itself when it's on the bunny. All right, we've completed our increases, so we are going to crochet down the opposite end. Just single crochet straight down until we reach that final corner at the end. All right, so this is our last stitch. Might be a little tough, that's okay, because we can do hard things. I think I can do hard things. Okay. Then we're gonna single crochet 3 for the corner. All right, and then from there I'm going to slip stitch to the next stitch. And then we have our beautifully completed ear. We also want to leave a long tail for sewing, just so we can attach that to the head of the bunny without much of a problem. So after you make one, you need to make another, because unless you want your bunny to be one-eared, you should have 2. Honestly, just make as many ears as you want your bunny to have. It's your bunny. Do what you want. All right, so now I've made my 2 ears, and now I'm ready to attach them to my bunny. So what I'm gonna do is kind of see, okay, so here's the face, and I wanna have them a couple rows out. I like to have them at a bit of a diagonal, so when they're sitting up, you can see the inner of their ears. I'm just gonna get this onto my needle. The nice part is that sewing the ears on is so much easier than sewing it onto the body. I'm actually just going to loop it through like that little first stitch there. Doesn't need to look too pretty because it's going to be hidden. So like 1, 2, 3, like around 4 and 5, rows 4 and 5, maybe as far back as 6. Again, a lot of this is personal preference of like where you want your ears to go. So I think it looks pretty cute there. So I'm just going to go ahead. And what I'm doing is I'm inserting kind of under that row. And here I'm just going to whip stitch it. Just going around in each stitch and in each row. I think I went up a row there, and that's okay. It does not need to be perfect. The beauty of handmade crafts is that they are made with love, not perfection. Make sure I get through both arms of the stitch there. All right, and then that's nice and secure. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of dive around here. And then I'm going to make a knot. I guess if you wanted things to be extra secure, you could go through and whip stitch everything again, but I don't want to do that. That seems like too much work. So that's a good double knot. Then I'm just going to go down, stab through the head, and trim off the excess. All right, now that we have our ears nice and attached here, oh my gosh, I can't even, it's so cute. Now it's time for making a pom-pom. So I have a pom-pom maker. Alternatively, you could use a dinner fork, but basically what I'm going to do is take out these arms and then just wrap this yarn around it as much as I humanly can. All right, now that we have our little pom-pom maker wrapped up, I'm going to take my scissors and just cut down the center. Don't want to open it up at this point, but like right now, little grooves are going to keep the pom-pom intact. Oh, this doesn't feel very thick. Oh no. That's okay. I can figure it out. Okay, maybe it's better than I thought. Okay, we'll figure. Again, going for perfection. Not perfection. Going for made with love, not made with perfection. Then I'm just like gonna cut a length of yarn. Does not have to be super long. This is like maybe a foot. And so what I'm gonna do is where the grooves are, I am going to put that right in the center. And then I'm going to tie a knot. Oh dear, it's not even. That's okay. What happened? Maybe it's not okay. I'm figuring it out. So I'm just gonna tie a double knot there. I'm gonna go wrap back around, tie another double knot there. And I'm feeling a little insecure, so I'm going to go for just like one more double knot. All right, there we go. So from there, I'm going to go trim these, which feels scary, but it's gonna be okay, because I can just make another one. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the little yellow parts. And then I'm going to pull the two halves apart. And then I have a pom-pom. It's a little scraggly looking, so that's where we're going to give it a haircut. And that will help make it cute. All right, I'm all done trimming my pom-pom, so now what's left is to attach it to the back of my bunny. So what I'm going to do is take another length of yarn, about arm's length. It doesn't need to be super long, but we do want it long enough for sewing and securing. Then we're gonna flip bunny so it's laying on its front. And I'm going to get my needle threaded. Then I'm gonna kind of place my pom-pom on the back just to see about where I want it. Yeah, this is definitely the pretty side. So do I want it like that? Do I want it more? I think I like it a little more horizontal. So what I'm gonna do is kind of take my needle and mark about where the center of it is. Again, does not need to be perfect. So this is about the center. I'm gonna go there. I'm just gonna tie a double or triple knot. We can trim this later. And then I'm going to take my pom-pom and then stab it. And then I'm going to stab it again. Preferably, you can kind of see like there's a little band where we secured the pom-pom. I'm gonna try to go on like the other side of that band just to help make it a little more secure. We can like always fluff it out to hide the band later. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this yarn and kind of anchor it by going through another stitch. And I'm going to repeat that process like 3 or 4 more times just to make sure that our pom-pom isn't going to go anywhere. I suppose you could also buy just like pre-made pom-poms and then hot glue them on. That's also an option. I like the charm of knowing that my pom-poms match the bunny and the yarn I'm using perfectly. So again, this is all personal preference. You make your bunnies how you want people. I'm not the bunny police. Okay, that feels like it's not going anywhere. So now I'm just going to use the method that I have before. I'm actually gonna kind of like maybe weave this a little bit so it's a little higher up. It'll be easier to hide the knot. Go through there. Gonna triple knot it. 1, 2, all right, and then I'm going to trim off excess thread. Give a little haircut in the places where the yarn is a little wonky. You can shape that more as you go, but then we have a completed bunny. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my tutorial. If you found it helpful in making your very own scrap busting bunny, I ask that you please like and subscribe. Your support helps me continue making crochet content and tutorials for you to enjoy in the future. All right, bye.